Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Aaron Trevino here. We have another wonderful guest. We have Dustin Hendrickson from South Dakota. How you doing, Dustin?
Good. Thank you for having me, Aaron. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I know we connected a while back, and I've really enjoyed a lot of your content on LinkedIn. So it's great to connect with you and great to have you on the show.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Glad
Yeah,
to be
absolutely.
here.
Absolutely, Dustin. So for those of us who aren't too familiar with you, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, my name's Dustin Hendrickson. I use the hashtag mailbox money all the time. It's kind of my phrase, I guess, or people associate me with that phrase. And that's what I'm about. I'm just about buying long-term assets and holding them for perpetual cash flow to gain control of my time. And I like to help others also invest in the same stuff that I invest in personally. So
Absolutely. So I guess you kind of defined it already, but for those of us who aren't really familiar with the term, what is mailbox money?
So mailbox money, and people get it twisted with, taking money and investing it in their business. That's not the same. When you take your money and you invest it when someone else is making you money, that's mailbox money, where you're not actually working to create the money. You're sleeping, you're making money, you're on vacation, you're making money. Someone else is running it for you. It's passive. You're not involved, or you're involved very little. I try to only be involved on a month to month basis. I try to never get into projects where I'm needed daily, because it just takes your freedom away when you have to be involved in something every day. So I prefer to be involved in it monthly, because real estate's kind of a monthly thing. You got to check on the numbers basically once a month if everything's going good. If it's not going good, then you got to, dive in, and maybe it is a daily commitment for a while, but long term, nothing should be a daily commitment in my mind. And some people would probably say, well, a monthly commitment's too long too, but I just have not got my mindset there yet.
Absolutely. It's kind of that argument I get, or that relationship between time and money.
Yeah. The thing is weird though, is because once you actually learn how to control your time, you learn how to create way more money. So
Mm.
and it's all goes back to mindset. If you can break through free of all your limiting beliefs you have towards what you think makes money and how you think money is made, if you can basically shatter all those and start over, that's how you can figure out how to make the most money. It's really just a game. It's like the Matrix. It's kind of actually funny how once you start moving up in the ranks of different people and individuals and you see how people make money, it's pretty mind blowing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just curious, in terms of time, you mentioned how, when you control your time, the money comes. How do you schedule yourself, or how do you keep yourself organized with time?
I say no to all kinds of stuff, and I have a lot, I delegate tons. So I haven't quite figured out how to automate yet, but we're working on it. But I eliminate and I delegate almost everything. And anything that should be automated, I try to hire it out for sure, but we're starting to work on automated processes. I'm kind of a tech tart, as they say. So it takes me a long time to get to that point where I got to hire someone else to automate. It's kind of the last thing I think of. But I am available all morning long to myself. So I do set phone calls and stuff in the morning, and I do some LinkedIn, but it's nothing as urgent even in the mornings for me. And I found it's way, way more productive if I don't have any urgency during the morning, and all the urgency is placed in a small window of say noon to 4. Uh, that's the best time. And I've found when I do this, I actually create more situations that are less urgent. So stuff is never that urgent. It's almost never urgent. And if it is urgent, I usually have someone else dealing with the urgency. So like we got a water problem the other day. Well, instantly I just bring in one of my, partner, not partner, but yeah, he's a subcontractor that we use all the time. He always gets the work, and he just acts like he owns the project during those times. So it's no urgency to me. It's urgency to him and his crew, but not to me.
Yeah, I mean, what you just described, that sounds like a huge mindset shift, because if anything, when you're dealing in a high stress environment, maybe, the minute you get out of bed, before your feet even hit the ground, you're thinking about what you have to do before you even have that first cup of coffee. you're running through all these hypotheticals in your head, whereas for you, you cut all of that out.
The problem is that when you're in that environment and you're running all those scenarios in your head, the scenarios you're running are always fear-based and false, and you make usually the worst decisions. Now, some people are actually much better and they do make good decisions, but it's actually much, much more rare than people think. Almost every single person, when their brainwaves are in line and they're not dealing with stress, make fantastic decisions. Problem is that most people aren't, they're all stressed. So people make bad emotional decisions because they're blinded by their emotions and their ego takes over, and all this other stuff comes into it that is a me problem, and it has nothing to do with the situation. And then that's how they make their decisions. If they actually could step away from themselves and look at the thing and then make a decision, not based on what they're feeling or their personal emotions at the time, they make better decisions.
Absolutely. That's some great perspective, Dustin. I'm curious as well, was there any particular moment for you, like an aha moment that you had that you realized, hey, I really need to make a mindset shift? Or, if you're starting from square one, how do you start to make these mindset shifts?
Well, keep read all the time. So the main problem is that people get out of college and they quit reading because they think they're done with school. Now they got to go start their career. They'd advance way farther in their career if they just kept reading, versus stay at the office and work hard for however many hours. If you cap your hours at 40 and you let people know that you're not really willing to work more than 40 hours. Now, this obviously, this doesn't apply every single week. Sometimes weeks are different and you might have to go on some trip or do something that's more important. But you can't get sucked into that mindset where every week there's an emergency and there's a problem and now you're working 80 hours a week. You'll actually advance way farther if you work on yourself, because now you're just making better decisions. You're way smarter than everyone around you. You're not freaking out all the time. You probably will get as much work done too, honestly. And you'll move up I believe you'll move up faster, because that's when I started making moves, is when I actually quit working super, super hard and started working on myself as hard as I worked on those projects. Now, granted, I did own a lot of those projects, so that made it easier with the equity that was coming in, but I did not take commissions. I still took equity stakes on these projects, and that allows Mailbox money to come in so I could start on this journey. But I got overwhelmed one time, and I got completely overwhelmed, and I was doing affordable housing development. I was doing mixed use design, architecture, construction, asset management. I was doing, we were building spec houses. We were building custom houses and included the design. We were doing value add buys, remodel, flip, and some asset management. And I was even doing some property management just because when my mom called, I'd go do it. Well, I don't do any of that stuff anymore. My mom calls either, by the way, because it's just too much. So I would just say yes to everything, and I was working 80 hours a week, and then all of a sudden I quit making money, and that's when I was like, what is going on? I'm super stressed out, and we're not even making money. And it was just because I was making too many decisions, or I was just not paying attention to any of the projects as much as I should, and I was working in them instead of on them, and it just got out of control. And that's when I was like, there's got to be a better way. And I went and I flew down and I got introduced to the syndication model. And all the syndication model is just a higher mindset. It's just a higher mindset of how to purchase real estate. And you start learning that, and then you're like, oh, okay, if I was just in the dark for so long for this, what else am I in the dark for? And I started reading, and then it all just piled on top of each other.
Yeah.
And then I found stoicism, and that increased all my responsibilities. Like, I understood more about how to not ever be a victim. And then I found spirituality, and I realized that manifesting stuff is real, and you can manifest whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely, Dustin. There's a lot to be said for that, kind of like you said, even though college ends, you're still making an effort to read and, read things that are practical and that can, I guess, serve you on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like you've kind of, been in a few different parts of the industry. You mentioned, maybe those spec builds, different sorts of new construction or developments, and then you got introduced to syndication. Could you kind of explain what you're doing right now?
So what we're doing now is I invest passively with people like Zach Happenstall, Omar Khan, and Park Ave Capital, Chris Palmer. There's three examples. I've done more with other people, but those are three that I'm really close to. And I also, so if I bring my money in, say I bring $50,000 to each one of these deals, I also want to bring everyone else that has 50,000 that wants to come into these deals because they're extremely passive, extremely passive. I literally put my money in, help them with the design, and then I step away and I do nothing for the remainder of the project. Once in a while, I'll come on and say, have some creative input if there's issues. Like when COVID came up, I was more involved and gave some creative solutions. I didn't really do much, but I was just there in case they needed us or needed me. Everything went smoothly through all that. We didn't really lose a beat for COVID on any of our assets, but we were in the South, Phoenix, Atlanta, Texas, Jacksonville. So that's one part. Then Omar, so I was just going to strictly just get into this and be done with everything else because I'm fine with just doing the syndication. Then I started learning a lot from Omar on the financial side of it. And I learning a lot on raising money from Zach on that side of it. And then learning more on acquisitions from Chris. So then Omar's like, hey, I want to develop. And I'm like, all right, well, I can help you develop. And I'm just building all these partnerships and we're going to start developing instead of syndicating deals. We're just going to develop them now. So, and then I quit my construction company. I completely just shut it down because I realized I don't actually like construction. I was only doing construction because I loved real estate so much and it was an easy way to get it. So now I've learned how to apply the syndication model to development. I don't have to actually do the construction and I can still do all the visionary stuff I had in the past. And that's what my actual quality is like to share a vision with someone and get them enthused. That's like my one, if I could just do one thing, is what it would be. And that's what I'm trying to do is connect all these players together. So instead of me running this 125 unit deal we're going to do in Sioux Falls, because we're going to develop it, Omar's going to run it and he runs it way better than I can run it. And he's the CFA, he knows the numbers. And then I got a GC buddy in Sioux Falls that he builds assisted livings and stuff. So he has more experience with being a GC and he loves it. So I'm going to have him do that. So I just have all these partners come in. I get to share my vision and then move on. And now I've been brought on to an advisory board on how we're going to solve the affordable housing crisis. So I'm also helping in that. Then I can bring investors' money into that as well. So if we build, say, like a whole community full of twin homes that we rent out, we also give the homeowners options to buy. So we hope to sell out about 50-50. So you're not a full rental neighborhood, but it still gives you that mailbox money component, 50% rentals, 50% home ownership. The community is a little better when you have a lot of homeowners. And even if it skews higher, like if after 10 years, it's fine, we sell everything and move on to the next one, that's fine too. Just give it back to the community. That's cool too. But one thing I did discover through all of this, or being in all these different real estate asset classes, is you do not make any money when you develop something and you sell it. The majority of the money is made on real estate when you hold it for 10 years. There's something magical that happens. And Warren Buffett said it best. You can't go out and get 9 women pregnant and have a baby in 1 month. So you can't go and buy 10 assets and have a bunch of money in real estate because you bought 10. You just buy one and you wait 10 years and there's so much more value than buying 10 and waiting 1 year. So that there is a huge time factor in real estate. And that's why I encourage everyone to get more ownership in deals, get more equity, more long-term wealth is created that way, and avoid commissions, because commissions are, then with commissions, your lifestyle goes up, but your wealth doesn't. With equity, your lifestyle sort of will, it'll slowly go up, but you're not blowing all that commission. You're taking it and you're gonna have mailbox money now forever instead of a commission. And then slowly your lifestyle goes up and your wealth also goes up. And that's how you manage your time. If you take everything in commissions, now you're a slave to commissions, and then you can never really quit.
Yeah, absolutely, Dustin. That was a great explanation, especially there, when you drew that distinction, between being a slave to your commission versus getting that equity, which is the long-term play.
Yep.
And it's also neat how, your experience in construction, maybe it wasn't exactly what you wanted to do. But, you'd mentioned how you just love real estate. And it's interesting how kind of your experiences along the way really helped you come full circle and kind of develop those partnerships.
Yeah, because I can talk to general contractors extremely well. So I know exactly what to say to make them feel good, because I know that nobody says certain things and just dumps on their projects more or less. When people come into a place, normally they critique it because there's usually enough things wrong that you don't understand what's good about it. So then you critique it instead of, just highlight all the nice things. So then I can get people to work with me easier because I totally understand their situation. I can talk to subcontractors. So yeah, it is very good for me because I feel like that's a huge piece that's missing from a lot of real estate investors is they have no construction knowledge, and you're dealing with a piece of construction. And a lot of the problems are because of the construction. So
Sure thing. So could you kind of maybe revert back to that? Is it a lot of the GCs, do they expect to get ragged on for their project, or what's kind of the approach you have to communicate clearly with the GC?
I'd say for the most part, GCs, yes, they get people think that they should just come in and rip the project so that the GC knows and can fix it. So it's a thankless job. Being a GC is a thankless job, and the farther down you get to the end consumer, the worse it is. So if you're building a custom house for a homeowner, it's miserable unless you're into a certain realm where the mindset's different. Once you get to a certain amount of wealth, they understand. They've done it a whole many times. But the person is the person. So if you meet someone that you think is mean and crabby, and you're going to build the house for them, it's going to be a nightmare, because a house just is like the biggest stressor anyone can possibly deal with. And so they just fling it all, anything that's going on. They can't make up in their mind on stuff or whatever's going on in their life. They just dump on the general contractor because it's so stressful, because nothing goes as they think. It's just going to be some fairy tale building this house, and it's not like that. It never will be. And
Yeah,
you're not dealing with professionals, right? You're dealing with construction workers.
sure thing, Dustin. And it's, I guess that kind of calls back into play, those relationships you have with your partners. You're kind of able to communicate and know everyone else's role so you can get the job done.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what are you looking forward to in the future?
What am I looking forward to in the future? Traveling a lot, getting to hopefully more international travel, because this lockdown is hopefully ending and we can get back to being a little bit more normal. And I don't know. I mean, I'm looking, RV. I'm really looking forward to buying an RV. We're going to buy an RV sometime this year. That's probably my favorite thing to do for a family vacation, is go on an RV trip. It's like so I love leaving, but then when I leave, I'm like, man, I wish my family was here, and I miss my family at night. Like, a hotel bed to me is like the most lonely bed in the world. I hate sleeping in a hotel bed by myself. But in an RV, I can bring my family, and I have the same freedom. Like, you just get up and you drive away and you go to the next place. Like, you can be a rambling man while your whole family's with you, and you're rambling all over the country, and you get to see all the different places. And oh man, there's RV trips are amazing.
Absolutely. No, I was going to ask, I definitely do love RVs. We've done our fair share of that over the years, but what is it about an RV that's special to you, aside from, just being able to conveniently fly somewhere? Why go through the quote unquote trouble of using an RV?
Okay, because the convenience by far outweighs the trouble. So if you have your own RV and you're in Yellowstone, right? You're driving through Yellowstone. If you're like, hey, let's just stay here, as long as it's legal. Some places in Yellowstone you can't stay. It's like, okay, you don't have to worry about getting a reservation. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. You can literally park on the side of the road if you want to. It's all self-sustained. You're in Yellowstone. Oh, wow, look at the line for that bathroom. Well, we have a bathroom right here. Okay. Well, let's, pack whatever you want in it. Oh, you need to cook a meal? We got a kitchen. Oh, you want to do this or that? Oh, you don't like this campsite? Let's go. Like, The freedom is absolutely ridiculous. Plus you're in nature. It's sort of like you're camping. So it makes you feel like a kid because you know, a bear probably could rip into that RV and get you if it wanted to, but you're just kind of in this little tin can. It gets kind of chilly at night. It gets really hot during the day. You feel all the elements. It's comfortable, but it's not comfortable so it's not like you're staying at a luxury resort with, you know, it's like when you're, yeah, I don't know, you just get hot, you get cold, have to get out, you just feel all the elements, you see all the different things, and you can just go anywhere. And the beauty of like, oh wait, we stayed way too long at this little area because it was really cool, and then just been like, oh well, and it's nighttime, you just hit, you know, pop the pop outs out and you start partying. You know, you also, that's what we, you know, that happened to us too. Oh hey, we accidentally partied too much for dinner. Well, we'll stay here. It's not a big deal. It doesn't matter.
I like that. That there's definitely a nice convenience factor there, huh?
Yeah. And like one of my, I don't know if I think I'm like a lot of people, but there's this huge anxiety about airports where you rushing because you're going to miss your flight. And then you show up 2 hours early. And then the night before the trip, like this happened, this is, if I scheduled my flight too early, my sleep is shot because all night I'm like, oh, I got to make sure I'm to the airport 4 hours early for all the bullshit we got to go through. You know, what if we have a flat tire? It's like the only time I actually experience anxiety is before my flight because just, I don't know, just the way that they're shoveling you through these lines and you're looking for bombs and old ladies and all this dumb shit that we have to do at the airport. And then you, I don't know, just dealing with all that stuff and all these crowded spaces. I also definitely have an autistic trait. So that kind of plays in too as well. So I hate airports. So RVs are really, really cool. I fly a lot for hating airports, but I feel like they're made as uncomfortable as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at least you have that self-awareness to know, you know, what kind of real estate deals you like to do, and also, you know, the way you like to travel, and that's in an RV, right?
Yeah. My favorite way to travel is an RV, hands down. I mean, I haven't flown a private jet though. So that will be a different game. That'll be a game changer.
We'll have to have you back on the podcast after the private jet.
Deal. I'll fly on a private jet in 2021 for sure though.
All right. What month? We'll hold you to it.
I don't know what month, but in 2021, for surely by the end of 2021, I'll have flown in a private jet.
All right. We'll have to get back together towards the end of the year, Dustin. But you know, maybe someone's watching. They want to get a hold of you. They're in South Dakota. They're interested in your market and your services. You know, where can we find you?
LinkedIn's the best place to find me. Otherwise, Mailbox Money RE at gmail.com or at mailboxmoneyre.com is the website.
Yeah, absolutely, Dustin. You know, learned a little bit about what you do, kind of your journey in the industry, a bit about construction development, your mindset, and RVs. So it's been a real pleasure to have you on the show.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate it, man.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have a fantastic day.